So pleasure to have you all. Pirjo, I see you have joined us on the screen. Hope you can hear us well. We can see you well and hear you. Wonderful. So I think that one of the key issues we have to solve, or the big questions we have to answer today, is how do we achieve that critical mass of e-receipt users? If we, as we saw from Siim's presentation, the understanding and interest of the e-receipt service and the benefits by the consumer and businesses is still rather low. So Pirjo, perhaps I'm going to grab you into the conversation immediately so you don't feel that distance from us. Can we say that standards are the key issue that needs solving?
I would say yes. It is the same way as it is in the invoice, that when invoice was new, there was a lot of different standards, but not very good motivation. But now when we have created global standards, it is easier to build up a business case.
Tell me a bit more about standards. I mean, the way I see it as a basic user, I have my email and I have my PDF documents. Now, what do you mean seriously by standards? What kind of standards do we need?
We need data. That's the main thing. We need data to create new services. And standard way to provide this data is invoice as the one standard. And then, of course, eReceipt, which is like a cousin to invoice. So to reuse data, you need to have standards. For instance, we have in Finnish state, we have 50,000 credit card for civil servants. And we want to have eReceipt every time they pay something. And we have over 600,000 receipts every year. So if we have standard, we can automate this process.
All right. Jonas, what are the possibilities to identify the end users? I mean, both businesses and consumers, and do that across borders. I guess that is one of the bottlenecks in this process.
Indeed, it is. You know, I don't think that we should use citizen's identity for this, because by its essence, the receipt is anonymous. There shouldn't be any names behind it. So I think we should develop something new, or at least use something that is already developed. For example, eDelivery building block. It is available and it is actually used for e-invoicing purposes. So why not reuse the same approach here? I mean, you can have anonymized or decentralized identity here, where every country could have their own infrastructure where every citizen identifier is being stored. There is a so-called SML for that purpose. And it could be, we could arrange sort of an agreement how we will identify from which country this citizen is coming. I mean, we could add additional letters like EE, LT, or something like this to the anonymous identifier here.
But I mean, if each country develops their own ecosystem, translating those transactions between countries, wouldn't that be a headache?
No. If we will stick to the same approach as it is in invoicing, in PEPL specifically, we could achieve that every country has their own SML. It works actually as a DNS service. So it basically, we could have in every country the whole list of identifiers. And yet, if we add additional letters, we will know to which SML exactly, to which country's SML we should refer our query or something like this.
Right. Siim, I mean, you already touched upon it, but what kind of support measures do you think are needed for businesses to boost the e-receipt usage? I mean, and how can we avoid the same mistakes that we saw with e-invoices?
I think we need to look the two main target groups if we're talking about e-receipts. We look the corporate companies who actually need the receipt for their accounting in order to understand what is the economical content of those receipts. So I think the standardization is here key because today we have quite good infrastructure to exchange e-invoices around the economy, but this is not working yet for the e-receipts. So something similar need to be implemented for e-receipts in order the accounting functions of companies can receive machine-readable format the cost documents. So supporting doing that, I think the support can be targeted to POS vendors who need to develop their systems to be compliant with some standard. And when we are talking about the private persons, then we already touched the topic that private persons currently, they don't see a very good motivation. So the question is what it is, but actually it's somehow hidden. And I think the financial readiness, awareness, knowledgeable being about the costs and the data people can do with that is very important to educate people to understand better that the financial information is useful also for a private person to understand the cost structure, made it to avoid over expenditures and so on, especially if in economy the time is not so brilliant like it is now. So there are different measures: standardizing, supporting companies, machine-readable receipts, educating end users and the private customers. I think that's more or less we need to do.
It's quite scary to have a very blunt and transparent picture of how much money I spend on wine. I mean, I'm not sure I want to know.
Yes.
But it's a good point, though. I mean, if there's a recession and if I'm out of a job, then I would need to know, right?
I think it's important to look at what kind of channel people are using for working their receipts. We are talking about the banks. The bank is a preferred place to access to the receipt information. From other side, we know that people don't trust bank too much because banks sometimes make decisions about your financial position, about giving loan or not. So probably the people would not like share that information on the transaction or the product level with the bank. So maybe it's not the perfect, or maybe there is a possible the solution where the internet bank is still the channel to go to the receipt, but still the data of the receipt, the row level data is shown to the customer not from bank but from other channels. So bank sees only the high-level information. So it's a question of discussion. In Finland, we know that people trust a little bit more the banks probably also on the transaction level.
Martin, if I want to avoid the bank getting too much information about my wine purchases, I should download your app, and that would solve. That would be that good balance in between.
That's not exactly that. First, I want to thank Siim for the presentation. That was it really touched me. There's a few things that really work with me. One of them is if you talk about short tail and long tail, then actually CostPocket is operating at the long tail market. Most of our historical competitors have been working with corporate customers, which means the sales guy comes, then implementation guy comes, and it all costs hundreds of thousands of euros. What we do is we offer this service at the moment in Estonia for e-invoices for receiving them for €1 a month, which is practically it's very little. But
there is a business perspective there. I mean, Siim said that there's the business model is still debatable if it exists, but you're here and you have survived.
So yeah, well, what we work with a lot of little companies, and so we get this €1 from all of these little companies. So these little business perspectives are there. And I wanted to tell you one thing about the future, is that the future will be much less exciting than we think right now. We talk about real-time economy, but actually the real-time economy will look exactly like our current economy. It will we have the data faster. Because if I was looking that there are 20 million receipts in Estonia, then already, like business receipts, then already we are servicing about 130,000 cost documents a month, which is like 1.5–2 mil a year. So we are already touching like this proportion of these receipts that are moving today. That's an important thing. And I think like the question you touched, Johannes, is like maybe that is the best one, because what I was missing from the ecosystem slide is actually the banks. And it's not, it doesn't have to be the bank you give your money. Open API or banking open API actually changes the picture a lot. So it's totally possible that you can keep your wine purchases at your kind of payment processor or something like that. But it is always like this, the value of the information is very important. And I would just play a mental exercise here. Let's figure out where Google and we decide to take this market. So what we would do is we would generate a free receipt app for all the people. Like you have Gmail, it's free for all the people.
Most of my receipts end up in my Gmail mailbox anyway.
Anyway, right? And if you would be doing it as a Google, you would do it as a free service. All of your receipt, you would, as a end user, you would never pay for it. But in exchange, Google will then do the same thing as they do with your emails today. They kind of read what you write about, and then they can show you more relevant advertisements. That would be like a really like a model how like an American model would play out over here. But with receipts, we get into this problem. If it's not purchased with a company credit card, if it's purchased by a private person, then there can be information that is highly sensitive on it. The highest of them is receipts from apothekas or like any kind of medicine things. This has the highest level of information privacy at all. So there's a lot of all of this thing is around it as well.
Well, thanks, Martin, for a great overview of the possibilities and also the touchy issues. But Pirjo, let's talk a bit more about standards now. When will a common standard be ready, and what opportunities will it create for supply chain parties?
If I have understood correctly, the inquiry phase in SEN will start in January, and we expect to have a standard ready 2023. So, in meanwhile, for instance, in Finland, we are using e-invoice standard for it as well, because this is, as others have told, it is like a chicken and egg issue that if you don't have standard, you don't have data, and you can't create new businesses or new services to the customer. So yes, in the meantime, I think we should use what we have and wait for good standard. And I hope we get very good comments for inquiry phase so that we can create the best eReceipts format ever. And one thing I'd like to have added is that I would like to have a right to forget all my handbags shops or purchase I have made as well.
Pirjo, I'm afraid the sound system in this venue is designed in a way that the audience hears you perfectly, I hope. But me on the stage, I'm a bit struggling. So apologies if you already answered that question, but it came from the audience and I'm just going to read it out loud. Will there be an EU standard for eReceipts? And if yes, then when?
Yes, 2023.
So you did answer that. I thought I heard that, but just wanted to be sure. Now, as Siim pointed out, there's no sustainable business model for eReceipts, and the most important players, merchants, who should pay for their investments?
It's a good question. I think there are different opportunities to distribute those costs between the market players. There is no one answer to that because typically nobody wants to do that voluntarily. So somebody of those needs to find the catch why to invest for that. because the customer probably is not ready to pay more to get the e-receipt. Most likely the merchant may be, but actually they would like to avoid it. POS system is just technology vendor. So it's an open question. Maybe you can...
Two existing business models that I know about it that kind of work. And like the first one is that it's really, the problem is that no one really needs this to be electronical. To be honest, there is one institution that would really want it to be electronical, and that's the government. They are the only one who would need it to be digital. No one else really. But if you look at existing models, then I think M-Tasku in Estonia has a great model. They have decided to practically, so what they're offering is not a receipt platform per se, it's a platform for customer loyalty. So it's kind of, you also like, they're kind of seeing what you, like in a customer loyalty program, you can see what the customer has bought and what additional information, or what else can we sell it, and that actually generates the value in this system, which is, this is not a perfect, but this is a one of the working model. The other one is, I know there's a company in Estonia who does it so that they will give you a budgeting app. You as a private person, you can put your purchases over there and they will tell you how much you spent on wine and how much on pizza. But if you sign up to this app, it will tell you 2 times that, hey, we're going to sell your data. But you as a customer, you might not notice it. So they're going to sell your data and they're going to practically, let's say if you want to open your own food delivery courier company and you would really like to know how much people are paying averagely for Bolt and Wolt, then this organization providing this service, they actually know what people are paying for food. So this is also like, this is like the second, like I have now suggested 2 very capitalized ways on how to use this data. I think that none of them are perfect, but existing business models exist though.
Jonas, what's your take on this? I mean, how do we convince either the state or then companies of the benefits? And I mean, where do you see the most added value?
Well, the standard itself does not ensure that critical mass in the market. If we see e-receipt as just the electronic version of paper slip, it won't work. I don't need that receipt. Usually I throw it away. So that is why we need that add additional value here. CO2 footprint, nutrition facts, warranty information, rich data, etc. So with this on hand, I think consumers will start to use it, and at least will store it just for later usage or getting more information. Regarding the business model, I guess in either case, consumer will pay for this. You will know there's a marketing strategy when the application just pushes you all the marketing information. That's one approach. Another approach, they will provide you additional services like an accounting service. In that case, consumer will pay for it and will get rid of the marketing. I think what we definitely should have here, at least from member states, from the state, we need to create sort of framework, an easy playground, invest in that, and allow for the smaller players, entrepreneurs, to provide something such services. I mean, if we will have a competition in the market, the prices will lower. With the loyalty approach here, okay, there's a huge market player in Estonia and Lithuania, okay, but in either case, he will not gain the critical mass of the market. And I'm not sure if there are more than one huge player in the market. They definitely won't want to share their data between each other, because it's a direct way of espionage or something like this. So the ecosystem itself, it should be provided by government for ensuring the schema or something to ensure the privacy. I mean, commercial privacy, that's first thing. And another one, services for consumers, for citizens, and ensuring the anonymity, ensuring that the data won't be leaked without they consent or something like this. I mean, addressing GDPR problems here.
Yes, I think we can actually, if we are trying to find who will pay for that, and we need to look into the data and how we use it in case of eReceipts. We have the primary usage of eReceipt data, which is typically the consumer or the company, which needs the data for following the costs or for accounting purposes. But then we have a secondary use of that data, for example, any kind of studies, data mining, whatever. And actually, if there is already the critical mass and enough of data available, then when anonymized, this data can be very valuable for third parties, for analyzing, for commercial perspectives. And in this case, I think there can be payers who are ready to pay for that, for using for data. Of course, it cannot be personalized, it needs to be anonymized. But whatever commercial decisions, market analysis, or even for government actually analyzing the economical situation, for example.
Just one idea popping out of my head. Look, if we have data-driven machine-readable data here, we can fetch our refrigerator as Internet of Things with that data, and you will have that accounted of milk. How much milk do you have in your refrigerator? Something like this.
I've been expecting that for years. Every morning I wake up, want to have a flat white, but need to drink an espresso instead. No, but this is an interesting idea. Sorry that I interrupted, but I mean, this potential, the services that we can really build on eReceipts and machine-readable data. I mean, let's fantasize. Let's go crazy, Martin. You have ideas?
Not immediately. Let me.
Not immediately. Well, anyone else who wants to describe the future? What could eReceipts bring to the economy, except fresh milk in my fridge at the right time? I mean, because we've been talking about the people use it for warranty, but I mean, there has to be potential in the economy to build up new services, Jonas.
Straightforward one. It's about green approach of European Union. We will get rid of the paper slips. That's first thing, and it is obvious. The second obvious part here, every time when the paper is, you don't have that paper slip enough, in that case, you need to change it. It is time consuming. So basically, the business will save on that. So it is an obvious part here. I think in the future, you could join this information with your health account or something like this to have alerts about allergens or something like this for the business. You just have automated accountancy here. I mean, the benefits from real-time economy. You don't have to think twice about the data that is needed by controlling agencies or by your business partners here. I think we should go in once-only principle here, and eReceipts, e-invoicing, real-time reporting. It drives us towards that. Once-only principle.
It's very simple. In the future, you're going to have an app, and your receipts are going to be in this app, and there's going to be several of these apps, and it's going to be very normal. Like, why did we talk about it even? Recently I had this experience. We opened a business in Poland. We registered the proper CostPocket Polka Zoo in Poland, and the way it works is that Jonas signs a paper document in Tallinn, prints it out, signs it, puts it to the post, sends it with the post to Tartu, where I take it from the PO box, sign it, and put it to email and send it to Poland. Like, true story. And like, we have all forgotten about it in Estonia, because now we have the new thing, we have digital signature, and this has all, it's just gone. And now when we see it, we're like, wow, did we really do it? And like in 10 years ago, we'll all be like, we're going to find like an old paper receipt, and we're like, wow, remember we had this. They're going to disappear very soon.
Dear friends, do you have any questions? Because I must say I'm running out of them. So please help me out. Use Worksup to post yours. I'm just wondering, do our virtual participant Pirjo has anything she has been waiting to say, and the rude moderator hasn't given her a chance? Pirjo, you have the stage now.
Yeah, I think one business model would be that when I buy, for instance, some electronic device like a refrigerator, the app will tell me 5 years or 10 years from now that, hey, come on, it's going to be Christmas and your device is so old, maybe you should check if there is available a new one so you don't ruin your Christmas dinner.
Sponsored by Euronics, selling the best
Yes.
fridges in the Baltics.
Ability of a business model of different financing solutions. There is definitely one is like with e-invoices, like you can prove that this invoice was really sent. You don't need to go back and prove it. So it's immediately easier to offer factoring services on top of it. And I guess with all kinds of online things, it's very popular to kind of buy now, pay later. So like this dedicated electronic receipts could also be used as a way to prove that this is a real cost and this can go into the factoring process or financing.
The kind audience has posted a question, and I'm going to read it out loud. To what extent do you think data, so-called mined from these automated reports, can be used for policy making, perhaps thinking of machine learning and anticipatory policy making? Who wants to take that?
Maybe I can answer first.
Go ahead.
For instance, national statistics will give more accurate information about spending and things like that.
Right. We already talked about getting rid of paper, but with the green transition, especially with the electricity prices spiking, we should also perhaps consider digital waste. Now, a person from the audience asks how much and how long something should be stored in the digital domain.
It's all set by laws. It's written in Lithuania, it's 10 years, for example, I believe.
So such long term. I mean, it's up to consumer to decide. You know, we had a long discussion regarding the who is the owner of this document, because right now it's not a problem at all. When merchant issue a paper slip, I'm in possession of this paper slip. I'm the owner of it, and I can do what I want with it. With digital data, it's not that easy. So who is the owner of this data? So I think I, as an owner, I have to decide for how long I should keep it. For instance, if I have a warranty that lasts for 2 years, probably I will keep this data for 2 years. If I have something, if I purchased milk, I don't need that data. Maybe I can erase it immediately on the same date. So I think it's up to consumer to decide.
Do you ever delete your Gmail account? Because I have 15 gigabytes waiting from 2004 or 5.
I have tried to delete it, but they send new emails all the time.
No, but I mean, you just don't care. You leave it there. Also, your milky receipts from 10 years ago. I mean, that's going to be digital waste.
So that is why I think we will have sort of digital wallets here for mobility. With digital wallets, you will have that needed mobility where the receipt is actually stored on your smartphone or something like this. And only if you want a backup of that data, okay, it can be stored by archiving service provider or something like this. But
so you don't think they would be in a cloud?
Look, for instance, okay, I graduated, okay, I'm trying to graduate in this school where we now, and I will live here in Thailand for 4 years. Okay, I will have lots of receipts, and then for 4 years I will live in Thailand. But afterwards, I will travel back to Lithuania. How well I will transfer all the data from Estonian cloud to Lithuanian cloud?
It's a Google cloud, perhaps.
Well, you know, I prefer to use European services for something like this. It's not about that I'm claiming that Google do something wrong here. But for me as an European citizen, I would like to keep all the data here. At least in European Union.
Siim, you had a point. Sorry.
Yes, if talking about the digital waste, then I think the eReceipts is the smallest problem. If we count all those cat pictures, we have thousands in our phones and Google and 3 times. So this amount of data is so much bigger that there is eReceipt is not a problem. And also e-invoices in PDF waste quite a lot of place in our hard disks.
I think like the Gmail top corner is a very good shower of this. It shows you how much free space I still have left in there, and I still haven't done anything. It's not important. Like what I meant is that if you talk about accounting documents, then they have to be stored for 7 years plus 1 year in Estonia. Just like this is a very clear one.
This is for companies, yeah.
This is for companies.
Yeah. But a person from the audience asks, can we just replace receipts with simply a blockchain record? Would that solve anything? Would that make it, I guess it would make it more secure, but would it be efficient? Would it be user-friendly? Would it have a business perspective?
User-friendly doesn't mean anything in this one. It's just technology. You don't need to do technology because of technology. Estonia is very good at it. And I think more good projects in this specific space are coming out of Estonia.
Go ahead, Jonas.
Look, I think blockchain, usually when you read the scientific papers about a blockchain, if you can overcome a blockchain, please don't use it. That's the main proposal here. I think when we think about blockchain here, it ensures that authenticity. So from the tax administration perspective, if you need to ensure that the transaction that was issued from the POS is still authentic and it wasn't changed, then the blockchain could help with that. You can store a hash in blockchain and ensure authenticity of the data. But the data itself, if you will try to store the data itself in data block in blockchain, it would be unreasonable. Okay, we can arrange off-chain storages, etc., but it will be, I think it will be a mess.
It will be overkill.
Exactly.
But let's look on the other side. I mean, again, a person from the audience, thank you so much for posting those interesting questions, asks if, let me see where that question went. It's here. Question related to business models. Will business analytics based on data that is mined, would it have a revenue? What kind of revenue possibilities would it have, and would there be implications on privacy? We again the message sponsored by Euronics, get a new fridge. I mean, your milk is out. I guess there is a perspective, right?
I think there has been tried to make it with the business data or to analyze this business data, and the guys who tried, they have disappeared now. Like businesses don't like their data to be analyzed this way. Maybe private persons would.
Any other thoughts on that?
Well, I think in far future, in either case, we won't be the person who decides upon all of a sudden purchases or something like this. Someone will analyze this data, and someone will change our mindset. Please buy it, please use it, or not. But I think if we can push this date forward as much as it's possible, I mean, I am a data owner, and I wouldn't like to know that someone is looking at my receipt and makes the decisions based on that and tries to involve me into purchasing something. I would like to be in control of that.
And actually, maybe there is possible that I can sell my receipts to some data mining company for 1 cent per receipt if they can make money from that information. Of course, it can be anonymized or pseudonymized, extracting my personal data, because it doesn't matter if I am Siim or there is Johannes behind of that receipt. But they know that there is, 40 or 50 years old man buying that. So I think there are different business models, and the privacy shouldn't be a problem. And I can even earn from that, maybe.
Well, 2023, I guess, I think Chrome will get rid of cookies. You will know that part, and it will be a headache for marketing companies. I think with receipt data on hand, they will still be able to provide me with personalized marketing data.
And
So-
you shouldn't embarrass what wine you are drinking, by the way.
No, I'm not embarrassing. I'm just worrying what my bank thinks about it if I want to get an extra loan to renovate my summer house. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid time's up. It's a wrap. An applause for the panel.